Corner. I'd like to introduce to you now from NATO, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Nicholson.
Hey, good morning. Thank you all for coming. And I know we have some folks on Facebook and Divids watching, so if you're watching from afar, thank you for tuning in. So we are from Allied Land Command. It's a NATO headquarters in Izmir, Turkey. And this morning what we'd like to talk to you about is NATO land forces and the Enhanced Forward Presence Mission. So without any further ado, let me introduce the Commander of LANDCOM, Lieutenant General Darryl Williams.
All right, good morning. How you doing, everybody? All right, good morning, good morning. So I see many of my NATO teammates out here. Welcome. These are some of my other teammates here who will be talking to later. This is my right-hand man, Command Sergeant Major Steve Rice. This is Wade Rutland. You'll hear from Wade a little bit. This is Braga Reinas. This is my XO. And this is LANDCOM. This is Rudy Falk. I get fired up with Rudy every single day, so Rudy's my brother. Let's give them all a round of applause. All right, as Mike said, I'm the Allied Land Commander. I live in Izmir, Turkey. And I think I'd like to show you a little video first to talk about what NATO is doing, and I'll do through some boring slides, not too many. You need to hear from these commanders that are in the dirt right now, making the difference on deterrence. So we're going to show the video, and then we're going to do a little Q&A and talk, and we'll have fun here. All right, show the video. NATO Allied Land Command is the advocate for all NATO ground forces. In peace, this command provides land expertise in support of the alliance land capabilities, readiness, interoperability, and standardization. In crisis, this command provides mission command to NATO land forces in support of the Joint Force Command.
At all times, we focus on ensuring the NATO land forces are effective, interoperable, and successful in full-spectrum operations at all levels.
For us at the Allied Rapid Reaction Corps, as for the other high readiness forces land, LANDCOM provides a degree of coherence. In essence, our environmental godfather.
One of LANDCOM's main strengths is its ability to stimulate and harmonize the reflection at land level.
Well, LANDCOM is in the best position to promote interoperability among the GRF community, providing common direction and guidance related to doctrine, organization, tactics, techniques, and procedures.
The LANDCOM is my voice to secure. Additionally, LANDCOM is the advocate of the GRFs in front of the other strategic commands and the NATO command structure community.
The Warsaw Summit last year was an important expression of NATO's unity, and our senior leaders agreed the EFP is a specific and necessary component of NATO's deterrence and defense posture.
LANDCOM assists us at Multinational Corps Northeast in Poland in synchronization of the land domain. By having forces ready, right capabilities, and the proper resources available, together we make NATO a stronger and more defensive alliance.
For the soldier. You fired up? You guys awake now? All right, cool. So we are every bit about for the soldier. Good to see you, Hendrik. We are about the soldier, but diverse soldiers, NATO soldiers, enhanced forward presence. You saw all the Corps commanders that were in the video. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But that's our team, and we're making a difference every single day in Europe, and very proud to have the team. We'll talk to you, my teammates talking to you. Next slide, please. So a little bit about LANDCOM and NATO. When I went to NATO LANDCOM a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, a lot of the Americans didn't realize they were part of NATO. I'm like, dude, you're in NATO, man. And a lot of my European teammates are going, yeah, you're right, sir. So we'll do a little one-on-one here. There are two big organizations. These are the two strategic commands. SCAP owns the one on the left there, ACO, General Scaparrotti. The one on the left is a French four-star. General Denis Messier is in Norfolk, Virginia. Some of you may have been stationed there. Two strategic commands, NATO. Next. So we'll sort of unpack ACO a little bit with General Scaparrotti. That's me in the middle. That's the command I represent. I'll unpack that in a second. Three single service command, air, land, right, and sea, maritime, Admiral Clive Johnstone, British Navy Admiral. General Todd Walters, AirCom, has three hats. He's also in Africa as well as Europe. And then the two Joint Force Commands. This is NATO Command Structure, NCS. You'll see that later. This is General Salvatore Farini, and this is Admiral Michelle Howard down in Naples. Two operational commands. Next. So that's me in the middle. 350 strong in Izmir, Turkey. I have an Italian three-star deputy. I have a Turkish two-star chief of staff, an Hungarian, Bulgarian, and Spanish one-star, and a fantastic Canadian sergeant major teammate here. So a little bit of like a Star Wars bar scene day to day, but that's okay. I'm Luke Skywalker, so we don't have any issues. So you can call me Luke if you want. But no, actually, I'm kidding aside. The diversity of the team is really our strength in LANCOM. That absolutely is what our strength is in LANCOM. Next. So this is my boss's priorities, General Mike Scaparrotti. Okay? You see the 3 hours on the left, Russian radicals, right? Relevance. Theater in transition. We went from assurance to deterrence. And a lot of my European teammates in the room here are working that every single day. If you talk to the Deputy Chad back there, Indrek, he would tell you this is a big deal. I'm glad you woke up NATO and went from assurance to deterrence, because there's an adversary, near-peer adversary across the water right there that I'm concerned about today. He's probably getting calls today, and many of my other teammates in here. Ivo from Latvia, as others. And then you see his 3 R's. His enduring priorities, I will tell you, not only resilient people, but resilient nations. If conflict happens in Europe, it's going to happen at a small level in one of these countries. And the resilience of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, other European countries will be tested. Will be tested. And so the strength of the alliance is very, very important. That's what these guys are going to talk to you about, enhanced forward presence. Next. That's our mission statement. Military dude, got to show you a mission. The first part is 80% of my job. Standardization, CREVAL. In fact, I'm running out this afternoon to go back and certify the Italian Corps, a thing called the CREVAL. It's a fancy word for, think RTEP. So LANCOM is the standard bearer in the land domain. So 80% of my organization is concerned with the first part. The second part, to be ready to be a land component command, will be tested next month in Norway. An exercise called Trident Javelin. I'll fight 3 to 5 corps, high-end war, 1,000 sorties a day. That's, if you can envision that sort of battlefield, that's what we're going to fight in Trident Javelin. Next. So, that's my, you can see my insignia there in the middle, and we're linked to all those folks. I talked about the guys at the top. Those guys on the left over there were the Corps commanders you heard talking on the video, right? Tim Radford, my other buddies who called me I still don't know what an environmental godfather is, but I think it's good. But that's that folks over there. And then these are all the armies. My brother, Ben Hodges, we work very closely together. He'll run a conference called the Conference of European Army later this month, and all the Army chiefs will be there. So I work with them. They're like, Williams, can you help me with this radio talking to this guy to shoot this fire mission? That's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. Ben does a great job at that. Next. So there they all are. Good-looking group. I talked about the NATO command structure in the middle. That's General Scaparrotti. I talked about all those guys. They're the Corps commanders. We're also working very closely with M&D Multinational Division Southeast in Romania as they become fully operational capable next spring. And we have a nice way ahead with the Romanians with that effort. But there's my teammates. And I've also, I think we've got some charts here we'll pass. You may have them in your books, but you can see the Americans. So you folks, you Americans are out there that are just now figuring that we're actually in NATO. There's opportunities for you to serve well with your allied partners because you're going to fight with them. Every time you go to fight, you're fighting with your brothers and sisters from other countries. So here's an opportunity to be in LANCOM, to be in one of those corps. There are Americans, colonels, majors, sergeants, in all of those corps serving side by side with Ivo and his teammates and Kai and others. Next. Okay, this is the pivot point to the rest of the talk. I won't go in great detail here. It shows the chronology of the stuff that's been happening in NATO, right? The intervention, you all know that. Warsaw Summit, watershed event. A lot of stuff happening, a lot of details. And if you have questions on it later, myself or my teammates can talk about that. EFP, you're looking at one of the battle group commanders right here and one of the company commanders who's in the fight right now. They are in the fight. And I see Pat back there. Hey, Pat, 2SCR from the American side. There are a lot of soldiers right here walking around here that are in the dirt today deterring that near-peer adversary. And all about collective defense. I think that's my pivot point. I think the next slide is Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major. Go ahead. Oh, I got one more. That just shows the array. I'm sorry. We did the rehearsal. I just didn't listen. So that shows the 4 battle groups. I talked about Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. You can see the rough sides. The contributing nations, the host nations, a myriad of nations involved with deterring in Eastern Europe right now. Now, I know that's my next slide, so Sergeant Major, over to you. Next.
Good morning, everyone. Sergeant Major Steve Rice, Command Senior Enlisted Leader of LANCOM. My opportunity today is to give you a brief description of this picture, actually. So I'm going to highlight the NCO by-size strategy and guidelines that NATO has just signed at the Defense Committee meeting in Albania in front of 29 chiefs of defense. So when you talk about the NCO Corps, first thing that probably comes to my knowledge would be backbone. What's the backbone of any professional military organization is a strong and professional NCO Corps. NATO is no different. And that's what the significance of the bi-strategic team here in enforcing our guidelines to set up soldiers for success. We place increased demands on our young soldiers every day, and this strategy reinforces our commitment to invest in them. We have to invest in our soldiers. Next slide. So 8-page document, first 6 pages outlines the strategy and how we invest and set up our soldiers for success. It also talks to the command team. It defines, it promotes, and it enables the command team at all levels, from tactical to strategic. You'd be very interested to know that some nations don't have sergeant majors at the national level. Okay, so this is a strategy to nail that down. And it's a forcing function for nations to encourage professional development within the NATO school domain. So the last two pages outlines a benchmark for every rank level within the NCO structure, from private, OR1, to OR9 Sergeant Major. This is the NATO's duties and responsibilities in terms of what we expect as a template for education and leadership experience. So that's my 50-second speech on NCO guidelines. Invest in your soldiers, set them up for success. We also the SACEUR has given us direction to ensure that lessons learned are passed from battle group to set up future rotations of enhanced forward presence. So it's my honor to introduce. You want to do it? You taking my thunder?
Hold on. I want to do an audible because what he just briefed is really, really big. So everywhere I go, I see Chip out there. I've had the opportunity to serve and visited 40 African armies, been in Korea, all the places you've been. Two things I tell my team that makes, and I'll speak for the United States Army, and there are other armies that are there as well, that makes a difference is support of the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps and our AAR capability. Our ability to really put deed into place and not just say, well, I have a sergeant major and make it a everywhere I go in NATO, sometimes when I show up at places, I sit here, sergeant major is like 10 rows back. Guess who fixes that in like a minute? Sergeant major sits right here. So I'm not passing any judgment on any army anywhere, but it's important, I think, for the LANCOM commander to model the importance of the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps, and we make a big deal of that every single day. So I just wanted to double tap that. Two things that distinguish great armies. Ones who empower the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps, and ones who are able to do real, realistic, candid after-action reviews. That's just my humble opinion of 35 years walking around looking at a lot of armies. So I wanted to double tap that for you, Sergeant.
Thanks, sir. There are a lot of people that talk about command team, and then there's also some that empower it. So thank you, sir. My honor and a privilege to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Wade Rutland, who is commanding the multinational battle group in Latvia, the tip of the spear. If something was to happen today, he's the one that's going to lead the charge. So would you join me in welcoming me, the battle group commander of Latvia?
All right, thanks everyone. It's a real honor to be here, especially Latvian to Generalis Mogilnis from Latvia, my boss's boss. I think he's keeping me honest today. So General Williams mentioned the Warsaw Summit. July 2016 was, of course, a big day for NATO and for Canada when we were named to be a framework nation. So a great political, operational strategy to put nations, which actual boots on the ground in the Baltics, to do a physical manifestation of political will. However, on the day we arrived, we had to be able to accomplish the Brunson mission of deter, if necessary, defend, and we didn't have, there was no timeout. So how do you do that to get 6 nations into one cohesive unit, working in a 7th nation, which was our brigade headquarters? There was really no book. There was lots of STANAGs, but a STANAG will tell you, how to hand over an explosive demolition or what gas hose to use on your, on your Navy ship. They'll not tell you how to execute a relief in place, one nation with other nation, or some of these other things you actually have to do at the tactical level. So this is just a couple of things on who we are, what we've been doing, and some challenges we found trying to build this thing. Next, please. So this is us. So host nation, Latvia, framework nation, Canada, which means we provide the overall C2 and a lot of the admin support and communications. So from the left, we do have a multinational staff, much like LANCOM, so the deputy commander, Spanish, the S3 operations officer, Italian, and then each nation represented within the actual staff. From left to right, Italy provided a infantry company with 2 platoons in the Freccia vehicle, which is an 8x8 with a 25mm cannon. Canada provided an infantry company as well, again an 8x8 vehicle, similar to American Stryker, but with a 25mm turret on it. Spain, a little bit different because their contribution was tracked. So they have 2 platoons in a tracked vehicle called the Bizarro with a 30mm cannon, and then a platoon of Leopardo tanks, which is a Leopardo 2A6. Poland provided the tank company, so 3 platoons in the PT-91 tank. We've got a multinational combat support company, which has Canadian signal platoon, Albanian explosive detonation. We've got Slovenian chemical, biological reconnaissance and decontamination, and then Canadian reconnaissance. Spain providing a engineering company headquarters, and then a sapper platoon. And then finally, there's quite a large glob of combat service support on the right that liaises with all the nation's national support elements to supply this thing. All told, there's about 1,200 people on that slide. You see the artillery company in dotted. That's because we flew over a battery of howitzers, M777-155, that's there for training purposes. For the next 2 months, we'll leave the guns, fly them home, and fly them back when required. Next, please. So this is what we do. So our mission, we pulled it straight out of the Brunson mission because that is the one thing that unifies all these nations. Of course, each nation comes with their own national mission, so as to deter aggression, defend if necessary, why to prevent conflict in the region. So our number one line of effort, readiness, which goes along well with this conference. So we can be from no alert state alpha, to fully in a tactical assembly area in 8 hours. Limiting factor is distributing ammunition, of course, because we don't carry around loaded weapons on a day-to-day basis. Line of effort 2 is interoperability. So never worked at this low a level before. We've all been in the same theaters. Every flag had their own AOR. Here, we're working and training beside each other every day. Third thing is projection outreach, so projecting what we're doing, because an invisible deterrent is not much good. And then finally, force protection. So we're aware there are threats out there, disinformation, trying to discredit us. So our number one thing we do is educate our soldiers and put some common sense constraints in place. And, well, a big emphasis on training safety, because it'd be a shame to be 200 kilometers from the Russian border for 7 months to get run over by a tank on your last day. Next. What we've been doing, so we arrived combination of May or June. Pretty big effort to get 6 nations by rail, by road, and by ship into Latvia in time to make the 30th of June IOC constraint. We knew that we would have to sit down with some whiteboards and make some SOPs, as no nation could lay their book on the table and say this is how we do things. So we did that. A week of capabilities, so everyone laid out their weapons, their equipment, did some maneuver firepower demonstrations, IFF, but also to see what each other could do. And then we built up. So everyone that was a health service support person, went out and practiced, tried to put a Canadian stretcher in a Spanish ambulance, these kind of things. Then we did element stands. So, for instance, Slovenian decon unit put every single company through their decontamination. And then we did our certification exercise, which was, a week in the field, much like NTC Hollenfeld's. We got put through our paces, and we were declared full operating capability at the end of August. Next. A few small things. So how do you make cohesion? We quickly found that, not everyone spoke English. And how do you give, your weekly parade messages? I know every army in the world, Monday morning, commander stands up, says the message of the week. So we had to do a few kind of modifications. So every Friday afternoon, I type the messages. I give them out a day ahead. Give the parade in English on a Saturday morning. And then, the greatest day we had is the first time a sending nation asked to be promoted on parade. So that's us promoting 3 Spanish NCOs, an Albanian captain and major. So we knew we'd starting to become cohesive when that happened. And then we quickly found that no one knew each other's ranks. They couldn't recognize each other's vehicles, and they didn't know where Riga was, even though they were right next to it. So we started to do some weekly tests, and one wrong answer results in physical cohesion being built. So then each nation would break off, and they'd read out those messages in their own language. So there's just a lot of little things you have to do to try to make, cohesion at such a diverse battle group. Next. Once we were certified, the famous Zapad exercise was going on in September, so we got out and about in the Baltics, and this was an average day. Italians in Estonia working with Estonian Defense Forces, the Spanish company doing an air mobile with American helicopters, El Lilvarde, Canadian company in Lithuania doing live fire, Polish doing outreach in the southeast, and then Canadian guns shooting for American 191st Cavalry in Adage. Next. All right, so some successes and challenges. Comms has been a very big challenge. So we did our certification exercise in plain text. We have done our first encrypted radio check 2 weeks ago. Just little things like who can distribute NATO crypto. And so that's coming around. I would show you a PowerPoint chart, but I didn't have the skill to make it. And then one of my captains kind of had a nervous breakdown, so it's hard. And we're gonna work on it. Logistics. So each nation brought a pretty big logistics tail. We've got a very linear support line. We've got to make that more kind of integrated and cohesive. And finally, national policies. So we were able to make SOPs on how to shoot mortars, conduct casualty evacuation, conduct obstacle crossing, but don't tell another nation their leave plan. Very difficult. And we're working on that. Some successes, though. At the bottom left here, this is our certification exercise. So that's me giving orders to the Polish platoon commander, tank platoon commander, who's then turning around and giving orders to his Canadian infantry squad leader that we assigned, and they're the battle group reserve that's about to take back a road junction we lost. So, you know, we did manage to turn 6 nations into one battle group, and we take orders from the 7th, which is our Latvian brigade. So that's worked out pretty well, and I think we're achieving our mission, which is deterrence. And I'll turn it over to my colleague.
Thank you, sir. Sir, generals, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Brage Renos. I'm working within the Norwegian Army as a company commander in the Telemark Battalion. But today I'm here to talk about my experiences as a company commander within the first rotation of EFP Battle Group Lithuania. The summit in Warsaw has been mentioned several times. That was also the first time we got notice that we might be going to Lithuania. We started our mental preparations for going to the Baltics, and we got a mission which told us that we were supposed to be able to deter and, if necessary, defend Lithuanian territory. Therefore, I was given last fall an armored company team consisting of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. We decided to stick with the training we had already planned. We planned within the Norwegian Brigade North to conduct high-intensity operations with focus on defense, which is more or less the same we would be doing in Lithuania if something were to happen. In addition, we were able to participate in a battalion-led recce to Lithuania last winter, together with the rest of the battle group. Furthermore, we participated in a combined MAPEX and command post exercise, which, from my point of view, is crucial for making things work in a multinational unit, because there are different TTPs, there are different SOPs, and we need to get to know each other in order to be able to work together. The battle group within Lithuania was a part of the Lithuanian Iron Wolf Brigade and was one out of 6 battalions. It was the EFP battle group is a mechanized infantry battalion. It was at that time led by Lieutenant Colonel Christoph Huber and consisted of approximately 1,000 persons. It consists of 3 combat COIs, 1 German with Marders and Leopard A6 main battle tanks, 1 Dutch with 3 platoons mounted on CV90s, and 1 Norwegian, which I will get back to. Furthermore, the battalion consisted of headquarters company, German, and a multinational CSS COI, which was multinational down to squad level. The order of battle for my company was 3 combat platoons, 2 main battle tank based on Leopard 2 A4s, and 1 mechanized infantry company based on CV90s, 30 millimeters. In addition, I had a combat support platoon, which had all the enablers we needed to conduct operations, snipers, and so forth. We had a heavy engineer platoon consisting of 4 heavy engineer vehicles and combat engineers. Most noteworthy were that we brought 2 heavy bridge layers, which are the only bridges within Lithuania able to carry all Allied tanks. And within Lithuania, it's a lot of rivers, there are a lot of gaps, so it's a crucial element of equipment. From my point of view, the keys for success, what I've learned during my stay in Lithuania, I've learned to be pragmatic. We need to focus on finding solutions, not the problems. I've learned to be patient. Things take more time in a multinational environment, and lost in translation in a unit consisting of 5 nations where none has English as the first language is most definitely a thing that happens. One needs to spend a lot of time to establish safe and good relations to the other persons. This is what breeds understanding. This is what makes us develop and helps us get common SOPs, TTPs, and so forth. I think it's important to find some common ground. In our case, it was TTPs, which was discussed as the first topic. This made us find some common ground, and from there we developed. And furthermore, I think going to, in this example, an exercise is crucial to do something together, and you get to know the other persons much better while, for example, on an exercise. Cultural difficulties, they are definitely there. Some of them are easy to recognize, some are different. You will learn a lot about your own cultural difficulties and how you affect other people. I think it's important to be aware of it. It's not possible to remove it, but it's critical to be aware of it, and it will not disappear. The Armed Wolf Brigade, which were the Lithuanians we worked with, from my point of view, are very good soldiers. They are well educated, they are easy to cooperate with, and we've been used to working with the ANA and so forth. This is absolutely not the ANA, this is an allied force like every other NATO member, so it's important to keep in mind that the ones we are working with they are good as we are. Finally, as the situation is in the Baltics now, no one is trying to kill you, so it's important to spend your time wisely. We spent it training. Our goal when we left Norway was to maintain our skills and abilities, but the end state when we went back is that we were actually much better due to all the time we had. People don't have spare time when you're deployed. There are no computers stealing your time, so we had a lot of time to train, and we actually improved, and that's a good thing. So to sum up, being deployed as a single company to a multinational battalion, it's extremely valuable experience for all ranks, I would say. We are better prepared today for the next deployment because I guess it's not the last time NATO will deploy a multinational battle group. And I think after this we will be able to do an even better job the next time we are deployed as part of a multinational unit. Thank you very much.
Wait. So just a couple points to double tap the fantastic points. So these are, come over here. You left me. Come back. Wait, come over here. So about 2 months ago, when my Sergeant Major and I were going through the Baltics, these 2 warriors were covered in dirt with their tanks in the mud, taking care of business. And so I want to make sure, so Brage here is part of Norway, is one of the contributing nations to Germany, which is a framework nation. The host nation is Lithuania. So you can see all the complexity. Wade, as you mentioned, has most nations. He has 6 nations down at the battalion level and below that he's integrating. And the same in Estonia and Poland as well. So you can see what I talked about earlier, the diversity of these units is our real strength. So I just wanted to make sure we undertook that away. A couple more points as I heard them talk. The interoperability aspect of fighting is key here. I believe we're just beginning. If you think how fast NATO moved, you saw the dates, 2016, it's 17 now. We've got combat formations in the Baltics deterring. 1 year. That's pretty quick for any one nation, very quick for many nations in NATO. So that shouldn't be lost on you. And as I mentioned before, I wanted to make sure you understand, we didn't have a slide, but framework nation, host nation, contributing nation. So it's very, very complex, all the different pieces there. And then the last thing I'll lead with is at the end of the day, it's about leadership. And so when I went to Latvia, when I went to Estonia and Poland, and I went and looked at and I saw the brigade commander. So what's missing here is the host nation brigade commander from the host nations. So there's a brigade commander that these battalions are plugged into. So a Lithuanian brigade commander, Estonian brigade commander is the boss. If something happens tonight, that host nation brigade will be this battalion commander, of course, he'll be here. We'll have to fly him back. But this battalion commander will fight as a part of that brigade combat team. These aren't mutually exclusive. I remember when I talked to Indrek 6 months ago, say, General, let's be clear. They are part of my team now, and they will be a part of my combat formation. I got you. So these guys are prepared to fight tonight, literally, and they are lethal. The brigades are lethal, and the battalions are lethal as well. So I just want to make sure people left with that. I think we have time for a question or two for any of these guys. Sir.
Hi, David Isby. A question for the captain. During the Cold War, I was on NATO exercises in Norway, and I saw how the Norwegian military plugged in British, American, German, Netherlands forces, not just with the Army, but with their Home Guard forces. What lessons that Norway learned during the Cold War with dealing with, as a host nation, can you now bring to this mission with dealing with the Baltics, who also have armies and home guards and have to deal with multiple NATO forces?
Yep, I do not think I'm the right guy to answer how things were during the Cold War. However, I think there is tremendous lessons to be learned during the big exercises in the northern part of Norway, especially the NATO exercises, which takes place every other year, which makes us embed not only just US or British forces, but Dutch forces, Germans, and also Baltic forces. So those experiences were valuable to me when I went to Lithuania. Hope that.
That's a perfect answer. Let me just double tap it. So the professionalism of the Norwegian Army is off the charts. And their ability to work in interoperable. I mean, I saw this commander here. He was happy. He had dirt from his head all the way down. He goes, sir, look. And so we're in tanks, we're running around. So the professionalism and their ability to get interoperability, what I saw. And I wasn't working with the Army back during the Cold War, but that's what my takeaways are from this. Any other questions? Ma'am.
Hi, thank you. Susan Katz-Keating with AUSA. In recent Zapad exercises, did you see anything in Zapad that surprised you or caused you to change any of your focus? Yeah.
No. They were exercising, and these teammates were exercising. So General Scaparrotti was very clear when we started. We have been tracking Zapad. I was actually the USRA G3 back with my brother Kay Roy Schneider, sitting next to General Don Campbell in the last Zapad. And if it had been when I was a lieutenant, we would have rolled out the back gate and I wouldn't have gotten the nukes. So then we were a little disturbed. This time, they were exercising and we were exercising. And we were prepared and anticipated everything that we saw out there. So there was nothing that surprised us. We were able to showcase strength, and they showcased their ability to exercise. But what NATO showcased was strength. Now remember, it's the part of deterrence is just not the enhanced forward presence. I mean, there is the NATO force integration units, there's the air and the sea. It's a multi-joint domain that contributes to everything deterrence. It isn't just these great soldiers here. Great question. Get one more.
Sir, Lieutenant Colonel Allison, visiting defense fellow at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. Thank you for the presentation today. We're very informative. It seems to me interoperability and alliances is one of the areas that I'm considering doing my research project on, and it seems like, especially with NATO's mission in Europe, it seems like interoperability has been solved from the bottom up in many of these cases. What I'm interested in is, at the national political strategic level, what can we do to start unpacking the problem to pave the way for these fine gentlemen that are out there doing the hard work, so that we can lay the framework for interoperability at a higher, faster level?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're exactly right. First of all, you're going to come work for me on your research paper, so make sure we get his... General Scaparotti's doing that at the strategic and operational level. I will tell you, at my level, I tend to work operational. We held probably the largest rock drill, and Wade was there, of all of the nations. So I'm an artilleryman, so I've got to see it before I kill it. And we held a huge rock drill to get at integrating all these different organizations. So from a very practitioner standpoint, that's what we did. At my level and beyond, General Scaparotti and the 4 stars you saw in it, there's massive amount of work that's being done with the military committee, with the NAC. I'm assuming you know all those acronyms. We are what's the magic word that's going on right now in NATO is adaptation. So we are that I showed you the NATO command structure and the NATO force structure. We're trying to figure out where that line is between me and these great nations here, all those generals you saw. So there's quite a bit of work going on right now. The 2 series of death mints coming up, there's one in November and there's one next spring, and we've got a lot of work to do but the point earlier about coming from the bottom up, you're exactly right. These guys are figuring out. These guys got to do it. Hey man, how do we talk? I don't know, let's figure it out. At the multi-star level, we're working through that. We got a long way to go. Okay, I think that's all of our time. I'll stand up here. I saw 2 more questions if you want to come up and ask. Thanks, everybody, for being here and participating. Let me just end with, for the Americans back there in the back row, welcome to Izmir. I'll take you, especially you, Colonel Allison. I got your name now, so you're going to come work for me. It is absolutely the most powerful alliance in the world, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. Thanks very much. Cool.